Imagine a vast network of trade routes spanning thousands of miles, connecting ancient civilizations from China to the Mediterranean. But these routes weren't just for transporting silk and spices. They carried ideas, religions, and technologies that would transform the world. Welcome to Armchair Archaeology. Today, we're exploring the Silk Road, the ancient trade network that bridged East and West, shaping the destinies of empires and cultures. From its beginnings, under the Han Dynasty, to its modern legacy, we'll unravel how this network of roads, rivers, and seas influenced global history. And don't miss the end, where we reveal an unexpected invention that the Silk Road helped bring to life, something we still use every day. The Silk Road began with a bold diplomatic mission. In 138 BCE, Han Emperor Wu sent his envoy, Chang'an, to forge alliances with the tribes of Central Asia. Zhang's journey marked the start of an interconnected trade network stretching over 4,000 miles, from the bustling markets of Chang'an, modern Xi'an, to the Mediterranean coast. But this wasn't a single road. It was a web of routes, winding through deserts, mountains, and steppes, building on pathways that had connected ancient societies for centuries. The name Silk Road is a modern term coined in the 19th century, but its roots date back much further. These pathways linked China to India, Persia, the Middle East, and the Roman Empire, creating a vast corridor for the exchange of goods. Silk, the precious fabric produced only in China, was the most famous export. But it wasn't the only treasure to travel these routes. Spices, gems, paper, and even glass moved along the Silk Road, carried by caravans of camels and ships navigating perilous seas. The Silk Road wasn't just about trade. It connected civilizations, allowing the flow of people, ideas, and technologies that would shape the ancient world. From Chinese gunpowder to Roman glassmaking, the Silk Road facilitated exchanges that spurred innovation and cultural development. It was a lifeline for empires and a stage for adventurers, diplomats and merchants seeking wealth and knowledge. The Silk Road may have begun as a way to exchange goods, but it quickly became a bridge that connected the East and West in ways that transformed history. Silk was more than just a luxurious fabric. It was a symbol of status and a highly coveted commodity that fueled the Silk Road for centuries. The Chinese kept the secret of silk production, known as sericulture, a closely guarded state secret, for over 1,000 years. This exquisite fabric, made from the cocoons of silkworms fed on mulberry leaves, was prized for its beauty, lightness, and strength. It was so valuable that it became the currency of empires, a treasure sought by everyone, from Roman senators to Persian kings. In the Roman Empire, silk was worth its weight in gold, literally. Roman aristocrats wore it as a symbol of their wealth and sophistication, leading the Senate to unsuccessfully try to ban it to curb excessive spending. The fascination with silk even sparked early diplomatic missions, as the Romans tried to establish direct contact with China to secure their supply of this precious fabric. Silk's value wasn't limited to fashion. It became a tool of diplomacy and a medium for cultural exchange. The Persian Empire, strategically positioned along the Silk Road, controlled the flow of silk into the West, using it as a political tool to build alliances and influence neighboring states. Byzantine emperors, too, draped themselves in silk, using the fabric to assert their imperial status and authority. Beyond the palaces, silk was used in religious practices, artwork, and burial rites, symbolizing purity and the divine. This delicate fabric, once produced in secret workshops in China, became a global phenomenon that not only clothed the wealthy, but also wove together the destinies of empires, shaping the course of history through its shimmering threads. The Silk Road was more than just a commercial route. It was a vibrant cultural highway that facilitated the exchange of ideas, art, and religions between diverse civilizations. As merchants and travelers traversed its expansive routes, they carried with them not only goods, but also the philosophies, languages, and traditions of their homelands. One of the most profound cultural exchanges was the spread of Buddhism from India to China. Buddhist monks traveled along the Silk Road, establishing monasteries and spreading teachings that would become deeply rooted in Chinese culture and beyond. But Buddhism wasn't the only belief system to travel these routes. Zoroastrianism from Persia, Islam from the Arabian Peninsula, and Christianity from the Roman Empire all spread along the Silk Road, each leaving a unique imprint on the cities and peoples they encountered. This mingling of religions led to a fascinating blend of spiritual practices and a flowering of artistic expressions that reflected this diversity. For instance, the Greco-Buddhist art of Gandhara combined Greek sculptural techniques with Buddhist iconography, creating a unique style that resonated across Asia. The exchange wasn't limited to religion and art. Languages like Sogdian and Persian became common tongues for traders and diplomats, enabling communication across the vast expanse of the Silk Road. Knowledge in fields such as medicine, astronomy, and mathematics flowed between cultures, enriching societies with new techniques and discoveries. Chinese paper, for example, revolutionized record-keeping and literature in the Islamic world and Europe. The Silk Road was a dynamic network where cultures didn't just coexist. They interacted, blended, and evolved. This exchange of ideas and traditions helped to shape the development of the civilizations connected by the Silk Road, laying the foundations for a more interconnected and culturally rich world that still resonates in the art, languages, and beliefs of the regions it once linked. The Silk Road's success depended on the thriving cities and powerful empires that dotted its length, acting as crucial hubs for trade, culture, and governance. At its eastern end lay Chang'an, the capital of the Han and Tang dynasties, a cosmopolitan city where merchants from across Asia gathered. Chang'an was not only a trade center, but also a cultural melting pot, where goods like silk and porcelain were exchanged alongside ideas, music, and even fashion trends from far-off lands. Further west, the cities of Samarkand and Bukhara in modern-day Uzbekistan emerged as vibrant centers of commerce and scholarship. Known for their strategic locations and bustling markets, these cities attracted traders, scholars, and artisans from Persia, India, and beyond. Samarkand, with its stunning blue-tiled mosques and lively bazaars, became a symbol of wealth and intellectual achievement. These cities were more than just stops on a trade route. They were beacons of cultural exchange, where new ideas in art, science, and technology blossomed. In the west, Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, was the Silk Road's gateway to Europe. Strategically positioned between Asia and Europe, it was the terminus for many goods traveling from the east. Its markets were filled with the treasures of the Silk Road, from Chinese silk to Indian spices. The city's wealth and strategic importance made it a prize coveted by many, contributing to its role as a crossroads of cultures and conflicts. Each empire along the route, the Han, the Persian, the Byzantine, and later the Mongol, played a critical role in maintaining and protecting these trade networks. Their armies defended the caravans, their bureaucracies managed the trade taxes, and their cities flourished with the wealth that flowed through them. These cities and empires didn't just profit from the Silk Road, they shaped its history and were shaped by it in turn, forming a network that linked the world like never before. While mighty empires like Rome and China often get the spotlight, The nomadic tribes of Central Asia were the unsung heroes and sometimes the disruptors of the Silk Road. Tribes such as the Scythians, Xiongnu, and later, the Mongols played crucial roles in the development and maintenance of these trade networks. These tribes controlled the vast, inhospitable regions between the settled empires, acting as intermediaries, protectors, and sometimes raiders. Nomads were uniquely suited to the challenges of the Silk Road. Their mastery of horseback riding and deep knowledge of the steppes allowed them to navigate the harsh landscapes of Central Asia, from the Gobi Desert to the towering peaks of the Pamirs. They often facilitated trade by providing safe passage, guiding caravans through treacherous territories, and setting up temporary markets where merchants could rest and exchange goods. The Sogdians, in particular, were known for their role as traders and translators, connecting Chinese and Persian merchants along the routes. However, the relationship between nomads and the Silk Road was complex and sometimes volatile. The Xiongnu posed a significant threat to the Han dynasty, raiding the northern trade routes and disrupting the flow of goods. In response, the Han launched military campaigns to secure the Silk Road, building fortifications and forging alliances with other nomadic groups to protect their interests. The Mongols, under Genghis Khan, transformed the Silk Road in a way no other nomadic group had. By uniting the various tribes under a single banner and establishing the largest contiguous empire in history, they created the Pax Mongolica, a period of relative peace and stability across Eurasia. This unprecedented security allowed trade to flourish, as merchants could travel from Europe to China under the protection of Mongol law. The Mongols not only protected the Silk Road, but also enhanced it, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies across their vast empire. The role of these nomadic tribes was pivotal, showing that the Silk Road was not just the domain of settled empires, but also of the dynamic and adaptable peoples who thrived in its harshest environments. The Silk Road was a powerful economic engine that reshaped the financial landscape of the ancient world. It wasn't just a conduit for luxury items like silk and spices, but a network that enabled the exchange of everyday goods such as wool, grains, and metals, connecting economies from East Asia to the Mediterranean. The flow of goods along the Silk Road created bustling markets and wealthy merchant classes in cities like Samarkand, Baghdad, and Kashgar. As trade flourished, cities along the Silk Road grew wealthy and powerful. They became vibrant economic centers, attracting merchants, artisans, and scholars from across the world. These cities didn't just trade goods, they traded in ideas and knowledge, contributing to advancements in fields like mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The wealth generated by trade funded grand architectural projects, from the splendid mosques of Bukhara to the bustling caravanserais that dotted the routes, offering travelers a place to rest and trade. However, the economic benefits of the Silk Road were not evenly distributed. While some cities and regions thrived, others became reliant on the prosperity of these trade hubs. The success of the Silk Road also made some areas vulnerable to exploitation and conflict. Control over these lucrative routes was a constant source of tension between empires and local powers, leading to wars and alliances that could make or break a region's fortune. The Silk Road also created a complex web of economic interdependence. A disruption in one area, such as war, natural disaster, or disease, could send shockwaves through the entire network. This interconnectivity meant that economic crises were felt far beyond their origin, highlighting both the power and fragility of the Silk Road's economic system. Ultimately, the Silk Road was more than just a series of trade routes. It was a vital economic lifeline, that shaped the fortunes of cities, empires, and peoples across 3 continents. The Silk Road was as much a battleground for political control as it was a route for trade. Its strategic importance made it a prize for empires, each seeking to control this vital artery of wealth and influence. The competition between the Roman and Parthian empires is one of the earliest examples of this struggle. Rome, eager to access the luxuries of the East, especially Chinese silk, found itself repeatedly at odds with the Parthians, who controlled the western stretches of the Silk Road and acted as middlemen in the trade. In the east, the Han dynasty faced constant threats from the Xiongnu, a confederation of nomadic tribes that controlled key segments of the northern Silk Road. To secure these routes, the Han engaged in extensive military campaigns and established the system of the Great Wall to protect their territory. They also sought to create alliances with other nomadic groups, using marriage diplomacy and trade incentives to stabilize their borders. As the Silk Road expanded, new powers like the Sasanian Empire and later the Byzantine Empire sought to dominate these routes. The Byzantines, in particular, were strategic in their efforts, negotiating with the Sasanian Persians to ensure a steady flow of goods into Europe. The rise of the Islamic caliphates in the 7th century further shifted the balance of power as the Arabs quickly took control of the key sections of the Silk Road, from the Arabian Peninsula through Persia and into Central Asia, establishing a period of relative stability and prosperity. The Mongol Empire, under Genghis Khan and his successors, brought unprecedented stability to the Silk Road with the establishment of the Pax Mongolica. By uniting almost the entire length of the Silk Road under one rule, they created a safe and stable environment for trade to flourish like never before. The Mongols actively encouraged commerce, built infrastructure, and protected traders, allowing for an era of increased cultural and economic exchange. These political dynamics, marked by conflict, alliances, and shifting power, were crucial in shaping the history of the Silk Road. The struggle for control over these trade routes not only influenced the wealth and power of empires, but also the flow of culture, technology, and ideas across the ancient world. The Silk Road was not just a highway for merchants. It was also a conduit for knowledge and innovation that had a lasting impact on the world. As traders moved goods across continents, they also carried with them revolutionary ideas and technologies that would shape human progress. One of the most transformative of these was papermaking, a Chinese invention from the Han Dynasty. The technique for creating paper spread westward along the Silk Road, revolutionizing communication, record-keeping, and learning in the Islamic world and later in Europe, where it became the foundation for the printing revolution. Another significant technology to travel the Silk Road was gunpowder. Initially developed in China for fireworks and military use, gunpowder made its way to the Middle East and Europe, dramatically changing warfare. The spread of the magnetic compass, also a Chinese innovation, improved navigation for seafarers, paving the way for the age of exploration and the discovery of new trade routes by European explorers. Medical knowledge also flowed along these routes. Ancient Greek, Persian, Indian, and Chinese medical texts were translated and exchanged, enriching the medical traditions of each culture. Scholars and physicians traveled along the Silk Road, learning from one another and advancing fields like surgery, pharmacology, and herbal medicine. For example, the Persian physician Avicenna's works on medicine, influenced by Greek and Indian sources, would later become foundational texts in both the Islamic world and medieval Europe. The Silk Road was also a highway for astronomical and mathematical ideas. The observatories in cities like Samarkand and Baghdad became centers of learning, where scholars from different cultures gathered to study and share their findings. This cross-pollination of ideas was crucial for the development of scientific knowledge in the Islamic Golden Age, influencing fields as diverse as algebra, chemistry, and optics. The transfer of these technologies and scientific advancements illustrates the profound impact of the Silk Road, which went far beyond the exchange of material goods. It was a network where cultures not only traded, but also taught and learned from one another, laying the foundations for many of the scientific and technological advancements that we benefit from today. The decline of the Silk Road was a gradual process, shaped by shifting political, economic, and environmental factors. One of the most significant changes was the rise of maritime trade routes in the 15th century. European powers, led by the Portuguese, discovered sea routes to Asia that were faster and more efficient than the overland paths of the Silk Road. The discovery of the Cape of Good Hope by Bartolomeu Dias in 1488 and Vasco da Gama's successful voyage to India in 1498 marked the beginning of a new era of global trade that would diminish the importance of the overland routes. Political instability also played a key role in the Silk Road's decline. The fragmentation of the Mongol Empire in the 14th century and the fall of the Byzantine Empire in 1453 disrupted the safety and stability that had once protected the trade routes. As smaller, often hostile states replaced these larger empires, the security of the Silk Road deteriorated, making long-distance trade more dangerous and less profitable. Another significant factor was the devastating impact of the Black Death in the mid-14th century. The plague, which spread along trade routes from Asia to Europe, killed millions and decimated entire populations, leading to a severe economic downturn. Many of the once thriving cities along the Silk Road were abandoned or fell into decline as the demand for luxury goods plummeted and merchants feared traveling through infected areas. By the time the Ming dynasty rose to power in China in the 14th century, the focus had shifted from overland trade to maritime exploration. The Ming emperors sent out vast fleets under Admiral Zheng He to establish sea routes to Southeast Asia, India, and East Africa, further reducing the importance of the Silk Road. While the overland routes never completely disappeared, they became secondary to the bustling maritime trade that connected Europe, Africa, and Asia. The decline of the Silk Road marked the end of an era, but its impact on global history remained. The network of connections it had established paved the way for future interactions and set the stage for the modern world's interconnectedness. Its legacy lives on, reminding us of a time when a vast web of trade routes brought distant civilizations into contact, transforming them forever. Although the Silk Road faded from prominence centuries ago, its legacy continues to shape our modern world in significant ways. It laid the groundwork for today's global trade networks, demonstrating how the exchange of goods and ideas can bridge vast distances and cultural divides. A modern reflection of this ancient route is China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, launched in 2013. The BRI aims to revive the spirit of the Silk Road by investing in infrastructure and enhancing trade links across Asia, Europe, and Africa, echoing the historical role of the Silk Road in fostering connectivity and cooperation. The cultural impact of the Silk Road is still visible in cities like Samarkand and Bukhara. These former hubs of trade and culture retain vibrant architectural, culinary, and artistic traditions that reflect centuries of intercultural exchange. UNESCO has recognized several parts of the ancient route as World Heritage Sites, celebrating the Silk Road's role in bringing diverse civilizations closer together. Moreover, the Silk Road serves as a powerful symbol of cross-cultural cooperation and dialogue. It reminds us of the benefits of openness and the importance of cultural exchange in an increasingly interconnected world. This ancient network of trade and communication continues to inspire modern diplomacy, offering a historical model for building partnerships and fostering mutual understanding. Even though the physical routes have changed, the spirit of the Silk Road lives on. Its legacy teaches us valuable lessons about the enduring power of trade and cultural exchange to connect people and ideas across borders, shaping the world we live in today. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey through the history of the Silk Road. We've explored its origins, the bustling cities and diverse cultures it connected, and its lasting impact on our modern world. And now, for the surprising fact we promised. Did you know that the concept of paper money, which we use every day, was developed thanks to the Silk Road? The Tang dynasty, overwhelmed by the logistics of transporting heavy coins over long distances, invented paper notes as a solution for merchants traveling the Silk Road. This innovation revolutionized trade and paved the way for modern banking systems. If you found this exploration enriching, please support our channel, Armchair Archaeology, by liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into history. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest adventures. What other ancient trade networks or civilizations would you like us to explore next? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until our next discovery, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the spirit of curiosity alive.